Isaiah chapter 58 and verse 1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins.
Copyright disclaimer. This content does not belong to Bible Chronicles or claim this intellectual property. The content provided today has and always will belong to the content owner. Bible Chronicles does not have any affiliation with the owner of this property. As mentioned, Bible Chronicles does not intend to make use of any material for the purpose of harvesting gain. However, Title 17 of United States copyright law states material and use can only be done when it's for theological or general educational purposes, and thus Bible Chronicles believes that this principal material falls under fair use, which honors protection under Section 107 of the same U.S. copyright law.
El autor viene a decirnos con mucha firmeza y gran convencimiento lo mismo que nos decía en el siglo XVIII el barón de Holbach, ¿no? Un filósofo francés de origen alemán. Si nos remontamos al comienzo, entonces hallaremos que la ignorancia y el temor crearon a los dioses. La fantasía, el entusiasmo o el engaño los adornaron o desfiguraron. La debilidad les rinde culto, la credulidad los conserva, la costumbre los respeta y la tiranía los apoya para que la ceguera de los hombres sirva a sus propios intereses.
Okay, let's see if you guys can hear that. I hope so. I hope you guys can hear that. Hey, what up, VTC? Sorry, bro. And whoever else is watching or not watching. Buenas noches, buenos tardes, buenos días. Say that in a sarcastic way, too, by the way. All right, you guys saw the the thumbnail. Listen, I want to tell you guys something real quick. You guys can believe whatever the hell you guys want to believe. I think we're all adults here. And there's no narrative, at least there's no intent like that for me. If that was the case, I would have already been trying to be part of a group. I read, I compare, and then I see, does it make sense? And if it doesn't make sense, then I stay where I'm at. So again, I've said this before in other classes or shows, like some of y'all like to call it. There's 7 churches, 7 continents. I kind of look at it like that. So I'm gonna focus on the people here, my gente, the natives. You know what I'm saying? Our people. And, I happen to be born in Guadalajara, in the actual, like right down there where all that stuff mostly happened. So but that goes for you brothers and sisters that have been born elsewhere. You know what I mean? So I say that for you guys too. So let's begin. I have a message. So anyways, look, I like to read. I like to I don't like just to go by what people are, what everybody's. I like to make sure I know what I'm believing, in a sense. You know what I mean? Because you gotta engrave with that. You gotta walk with that. You're not an empty vessel. So let's read this real quick. I think it's important. It's important. Check it out. I think this person made a great point. I'm no longer interested in awakening the masses because they made it clear that they are not interested. I'm here to connect with like-minded individuals and awaken those who want to learn. Because I reflected on what was my intent from the get-go with this channel. I just wanted to show our gente the beauty of being who we are. Because unfortunately, when you're born up in this area, you don't really experience what it's like. Not that you lose anything, but the reasons why we were connected again back into this whole soup of so-called America, which is why I believe the Most High brought us back to we can share this information. So then for you that may have lost some of that connection, you'll see what it means. I was blessed to have the experience of living there and going back and forth and still having family and roots there. And I go to Tijuana once a month. I have to. So I see my gente all the time. Yo los veo cuando estoy cruzando la línea. Me piden dinero. ¿Sabes qué? Yo les compro cuando puedo, compro algo para ayudarlos. But like this sign right here, this one right here, this is an actual one of those calendar ones. They made it. It's like real. Like I have it here. And I have it because I love those colors, green and gold. It's like my favorite, green and gold, since I was little. So again, I started this because I wanted to give that back to our people, because I looked around and in 2016, 2018, because that's kind of when I started kind of seeing this crap. There was nobody speaking for our gente. There was no Democratic, forefronter, no Republican, nothing, nobody, man. Everybody just stepped over the raza. Yeah, pinches Mexicanos, way. Shut up, beaners, get in the back of the line. That's what motivated me. So again, I started this because I wanted to give that back. But you know what? I learned that a lot of people don't give a shit. They don't want the truth. It just, as long as it tickles their entertainment and it's all good, then it's all good. But when it comes to real facts or learning, and that's not making it part-time of your life. If you believe that this book belongs to you, it has to be 24/7, at least, whether you're working or not. Y'all understand what I mean. I don't have to explain it to you. You guys are adults. You know how to balance your life. If you really are saturated with the words, you're going to have that always in your mind, no matter what you're doing. So again, I'm trying to, share the information because this is what I see. I'm not saying believe what I'm sharing with you, confirm what I'm sharing with you, because this I know for a fact. This right here, I know for a fact. Let me see if I can get it. Where you at? Hold on, I just had it, man. Are you serious? Hold on, give me a second. Hold. Give me a second. I had it. I don't know why. I lost it. Oh, here it goes. This is a powerful, and again, YouTube, you guys block this a lot. I'm trying to show examples of things. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Jose, shalom, saludos, Juan Moi. I'm trying to show. By the way, YouTube, I'm trying to show examples of things. I'm not. There's no benefit in this channel. We don't make money off of this. So I'm only using this for the purposes of educational, examples here. Okay? So again, this is why I'm using this material. Now, check this out, family. I'm going to play it this way because, again, you know, they may give me a hard time. So listen to the message. I think it's extremely important.
What does that mean?
To take something in.
Okay, excellent. To absorb. Anyone?
Everywhere, all the time.
So what is ubiquitous assimilation?
Always absorbing everything, everywhere, all the time.
Well done, George. How are you to imagine anything if the images are always provided for you? Who here read 1984 last year? Good. Anyone? Meredith?
Having two opposing beliefs at once and believing that both are true.
Excellent, Meredith. To deliberately believe in lies while knowing they're false. Examples of this in everyday life. Oh, I need to be pretty to be happy. I need surgery to be pretty. I need to be thin, famous, fashionable. This is a marketing holocaust. 24 hours a day, for the rest of our lives, the powers that be are hard at work, dumbing us to death. So, to defend ourselves and fight against assimilating this dullness into our thought processes, we must learn to read, to stimulate our own imaginations, to cultivate our own consciousness, our own belief systems. We all need these skills to defend, to preserve our own minds.
You hear that, family? When you look at it like that, that's why it's important to read. Read. Not so you can believe certain people or me, so you can know if what you're learning or hearing, it's true. If it's true, that is the whole point. That's my initial message to you guys. Now, I kind of wanted to show you guys this video, and I'm not trying to promote. I don't really know what goes on with these prison channels. I try to follow and listen to them here and there. You know, a couple of bros like recommended certain things, and I was like, cool. The reason I'm sharing this with you guys, and I'm not going to share too much about this. I think he's a veterano. I should say that. It's more of what he's mentioning here. FBA trying to rewrite history without anyone else's contributions. Look, I'm bringing these topics up because we've been going through this for too long. Other people telling us who we are and not knowing who they are. So check this out real quick. I'll go to this part here, and I guess he's mentioning certain situations going on, and apparently, okay, this man was asked if he would let his daughters marry a so-called African American, and he said no. And apparently, FBA got all pissed off about it, but they don't realize that black folks say the same shit. So I don't understand what the problem is. But let's listen in real quick. Like I said, it's sipping through. You see, the wobbleism is sipping through because he's going to say it. Check it out.
History. There is a segment with Tariq Nasheed is talking about the Roman Empire. And his analogy or his thoughts on it was that he had proven that the Roman Empire was created by the blacks. That Caesar was black. And that they just went around and painted all the statues of all these gods to portray them as white so that we could hide the greatness of the black people. This is Tariq Nasheed saying this. It's not me. Now, I've also seen Tariq Nasheed and people like Tariq Nasheed attack their own communities, black communities.
So see, just a brief example how it's sipping through. It's sipping through. And then, by the way,
We always ran the
I would like to share this with y'all. I'll tell you what. I'll leave it at the end. All right. So let's start kind of getting into these whole reason for the class. All right. So we know this here. And by the way, appreciate you brothers, man, that support this channel spiritually. I know you guys do. Appreciate y'all. I hope that you don't take it as entertainment, that it actually means something, because I'm going to show you some stuff and you determine what you want to decide on, man. You know what I mean? Let's go.
Colón. And so in Spanish we have it right, Cristóbal Colón. So his real name is Salvador Zarco. All right, but now recently we've discovered that Christopher Columbus, Cristóbal Colón, was known as a quote-unquote marrano. Marrano? The marranos are those that were forced to convert to Roman Catholicism. Well, the Sephardim, the Jews, okay. Forced to convert to Roman Catholicism. Well, the Sephardim, the Jews. Well, the Sephardim, the Jews. Well, the Sephardim, the Jews. Okay.
Okay. So now let me show you this real quick. I showed you this book before. How do I read this over and over again? Some of you guys easily forget. Oh, sorry. Some of you guys easily forget. Let me get this right. Hold on a second, family. Let me move this out the way. Please have the Bible. There it goes right there. No wonder I didn't have it. Okay. All right. So here it goes right here. I thought I had it. Let me do it again. It's a little genocide, a matter of a little genocide. Shared this shit with you guys before. Do you guys recall? This is on the introduction part. You must not forget that what perception of our reality in the past is no longer that perception at all. And these idiots think that by twisting history, because people don't read, they can manipulate our understanding. Clearly, we know now that there's a lot of propaganda going on. We got to be mindful why that's happening. But let's remember, the bigger the lie, the greater the likelihood that it would be delivered or being believed. I'm sorry. During the four centuries, spanning the time between 1492 when Christopher Columbus, could be Swarthy. I have a book here called The Other 1492, The Jewish Settlements in the New World by Norman Finkelstein. On page 2, it says this. There are some scholars who suggest that Columbus himself may have had Jewish roots. Whether this is true or not, there is no doubt that Columbus knew many Jews and that his celebrated voyage was made possible by the contribution and efforts the noted astronomer Abraham Zacuto designed the astronomical charts that assured Columbus a safe voyage. Important Jewish map makers like Crescas brothers were much sought after by other explorers of the time. Among the ship's crew were at least 3 Jews, including Luis de Torres, the interpreter. Right? This is when we get to this whole concept where when we start finding out, like our people here, like Why did they bring somebody speaking Hebrew? You know what I'm saying? Why did they do that? I'm going to show you a book at the end, the similarity between Hebrew and our language here. So once more, it is confirmed from another video that we were dealing with dark-skinned and light-skinned people. So when we say you guys brought smallpox, don't be offended. When we say Willie Lynch's letter was a lie, don't be offended because it's true. When we say that Rosa Parks' story was a lie, don't be offended because it's true. Again, I'm bringing out information because I want to prove something. This isn't just coming from one side. This is coming from all kinds of sides. So I'm not going to let anybody get away with stupidity. So let's continue. It says here. Hold on a second. Christopher, hold on. Okay. Let me start right here. The Census Bureau concluded that there were fewer than 250,000 indigenous people surviving within the country's claimed boundaries. A hemispheric population estimated to have been as great as 125 million was reduced by something over 90%. That's a lot. Think about that. If there's 10 of you in a room, 9 were going to die. The people had died in their millions of being hacked apart with axes and swords. So now when Culo Miados wants to show and bring out this whole concept and ignore and say that we were somehow Mongols, try to conclude the whole concept of them bringing us. Anyways, that's another point. But when you talk that way, and you so-called African man from the West Coast who are claiming to be from this continent here, you completely insult the history. You see, and then with this backset, you have to understand that we're talking about so-called Jews, right? So-called Jews. Now, who did he say was Christopher Columbus? What type of Jew? Ashkenazi Jew or Sephardic Jew? He said Sephardic Jew. So that now, when I consider the facts that these people also finance the slave trade, I have to really, really question who the hell they are. So let's continue. The people had died in their millions of being hacked apart with and swords, burned alive, trampled on the horses, hunted as game, and fed to dogs. This we know, historically speaking, there have been many, many books written. You guys can try to say that supposedly other people suffered this, but I always come back and ask you, okay, where's your diet, Mr. Black Man from America? If you're the original, the Wabo here, how come you don't eat the food we eat? You don't understand nothing about corn, masa, cilantro, tomates. I mean, when have you eaten grasshoppers? Chapulines, güeyes. When have you guys had that diet in your system? We know for a fact, and this has kind of been talked about lately around these little circles, lactose intolerance. I mean, I don't understand how you can come up and say that we even stole that from you. That's pretty stupid. But again, I'm kind of sorting with 3 people right now, 3 mindsets. Some that believe these are Jews, some that believe that these people are people, and some that believe that Sephardics are you guys. So let's continue. These are the same ones that brought axes and swords and burned you alive, trampled your people with horses, hunted you as game, and fed you to dogs, shot, beaten, stabbed, scalped for bounty, hung on meat hooks. You see, you understand this? Beaten, stabbed, scalped for bounty, hanged on meat hooks. This is your children as well. Your wife, your grandma, your tia, your uncle. And thrown over the ships at sea. So now, remember that movie Amistad? You typically see other people falling over ships, but they never give you that actual respect that our gente has gone through that. Yeah, this happened to you too. You see, in this channel, we don't lie. We bring facts. And I know that's emotionally effective to you guys. You don't like this. But hey, you know what? Hit the link. Burned alive, trampled over the horses, hunted his game, and fed to dogs, shot, beaten, stabbed, scalped for bounty, hung on meat hooks, thrown over the side of ships, thrown over the sides of ships at the sea, worked to death as slave laborers, which is still happening, intentionally starved, frozen to death during a multitude of forced marches and internment, and in an unknown number of instances, deliberately infected with epidemic diseases. We know who brought smallpox. Now, why am I kind of going with this particular issue here? Because remember Zarko, Sephardi, right? Okay, they came, and I want to remind you. So now, but at the same time, these people say they came, but they can't even prove it. I've shared this book before, and yeah, and I'm going to share it again. This is publication date 1739. It's a long time, okay? Quite frankly, quite some time. It's called A New Voyage to Italy. I find this very interesting because it's A New Voyage to Italy, Volume 2, Part 1. Make sure you get that one because there's several. Volume 1, Part 2, Volume 3. So it's Volume 2, Part 1. Okay? Now, follow me right here. Check this out. I'm going to go to page 140. And you tell me here it's actually here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read it so we can get a good understanding of what's going on here. Okay. So do not be surprised that these BHIs have supposedly some type of meat to expose the nations that they're the real Jews. Well, that's why we're going to go deep into this whole Spania concept here. We're going to go into that. Now, Obadiah, so you guys can really see what's going on back there. Who the hell is over there? Page 139, it says, I know not why this should be reckoned wonderful. For those who are to be baptized are carefully washed clean, that they must needs be sweet, though they really stunk before. But this ridiculous to imagine that the Jews, pay attention, excuse me. I guess I'm going through puberty again. Sorry, I'm joking. But this ridiculous to imagine that the Jews, as being Jews, have a particular smell. The Jews at Rome are very poor. You see? Those who are poor are always nasty. And those who are nasty usually stink. That is the mystery. This also is a vulgar error. That the Jews are all black. Yeah, I'm giving you credit. But you're going to see what it says. You see, here he says that not all of them are black. For this is only true of the Portuguese Jews. So they're considered the negros out of the bunch, who marrying always among one another, beget children like themselves. Consequently, the swarthiness of their complexion is entailed upon their whole race, even in the northern regions. But the Jews who are originally of Germany, those, for example, I have seen at Prague, are not blacker than the rest of their countrymen. So you see, so we got a differences here. So now, in case you guys don't know, these particular towns are divided, and we're going to see it, into two particular types of people: the Ashkenazis, the Khazars, or the Sephardics. And here, what it's talking about is that the Sephardics were the black ones, so-called, okay? And that the Germans' northern part were the light-skinned ones, the Ashkenaz. So I need you to understand how, now that we can get these books together, we can kind of picture, okay, I follow. All right, but let's continue. Though, and by the way, I'm sharing with you, and you need to confirm it with what I've shared. Don't just believe me. Just, you got to read it yourself. Though nobody can doubt that those of the Jewish nation are destitute of all authentic tradition, and that as being Jews have not, let's continue here, and have not any particular knowledge either of the laws or customs of their ancestors. You see this? So these black Jews, or white Jews, quote, quote, they have no particular knowledge either of the laws or customs of their ancestors or of the Hebrew language. I have, however, been willing to take care or to satisfy you in asking several of their rabbins or rabbis in Germany and Italy about what you had desired, with making them read some periods in Hebrew distinctly to observe how they pronounced it. Without a long time, he says, without a long time here, in entering again into the particularities of our questions, I will tell you that I have forgotten nothing, and that I have drove my curiosity farther than yours. So now he's like, I know you sent me here to, investigate on these people, but you know what? I'm actually more curious about this now than you are. He goes, having not forgot the diverse doubtful things that are marked in the grammars, or which are the results of the different opinions of the grammaring. The answer I have then to make you in a few words about this affair is that these Jews from Portugal all the way through Germany, that these Jews have furnished me with nothing. Nothing. Do you guys understand this? Nothing that one can draw any use from. And indeed, what could they say to Christians? So remember, Christians and these people had some issues. So now some of y'all want to say, oh, it's because, there are people and, they're freaking killing them because they were, teaching the laws. No, they weren't. They were being burned at the stake because they were actually teaching Kabbalah crap. That's why. And I'm going to show you what this Kabbalah stuff says. And you know what I mean? They were like in their face about it. So now these Christians are saying, yo, listen, what is it that you guys can tell us about what we know about you converts? We know that the Iberian Peninsula is being confused, nicknamed other names. We know that the Ashkenazis were actually convert Khazars that came from the Turks, the Volgas, all of that stuff in the actual Crimea region. We understand all of these migrations now. And they're like, what is it that you can reveal to us that we don't know? He says, let me read it again. The answer I have then to make you in a few words about this affair is that these Jews have furnished me with nothing that one can draw any use from. Culomiados, why don't you read? Why? And by the way, well, anyways, I'll continue because anyway, let me go. And indeed, what could they say to Christians that the Christians do not already know as well as they? You see, he's saying they don't even know that they're the people of the book, bro. They don't even know how to read Hebrew. And I found other material, which I just remembered, that says that they really didn't. As a matter of fact, when they came here, they really focused on reteaching these people, supposedly reteaching. Then it says here, and indeed, what could they say to Christians that the Christians do not already know as they? Have they any secret source or any immediate revelation? Who are those people that claim to be Jews, right? In Portugal, in Spain, Sephardics, Ashkenazis. I don't matter who you are. You Kabbalah pushing bastards. Who are those people that pretend to teach others? On the contrary, he says, they are a poor sort of creatures, so filled with false notions, so conceited in their monstrous ideas that I would never advise young people to have any commerce with them for the fear of receiving from them ridiculous prejudice. So far, Sephardick or Ashkenazi, don't matter. It was one and the same. They study and love each other to death. I don't see any camps trying to tell us that they're the son of the kingdom. We're their people. Do you? If they're the southern kingdom, where the hell are they? How come they ain't teaching us? So now let's go into this particular topic here, which is, I think it's time to battle it. This is from a book called The Dictionary Bible, edited by James Hastings, dated 1909. Now we're going to go to Obadiah real quick. Okay, because I think it's imperative. It's imperativo that you guys read. Remember that video I showed y'all? Read so you don't fall for the okie doke. Now, this is Obadiah, the book of Obadiah. It's going all the way down here. And you guys can read this. So I just want to get to the point here. Okay. So we're going to get. So now let me explain something here. Hold on. When you go up, excuse me. Oh, remember, I'm reaching my puberty for the first time. Kidding. When you go up or when you go down, you're going to start seeing little V's here, like verse 1 through 7, stuff like that. Okay. So that's all it's talking about. It's giving it its explanation on particular verses of that book. So if we go further down, let's get to the nitty-gritty. Let's get to the nitty-gritty. All right. This is why I suggest to read. Read. The prediction of universal judgment. It says here, in contrast with verse 1 through 7 or 10 through 14, the tense in verse 15 and 16 through 21 are consistently imperfects. naturally suggesting the future. The persons addressed, second people, are Israelites, not Edomites. And Edom is referred to in the third person. The prophecy predicts an imminent, a universal judgment, verse 15, in which the annihilation of Edom by the Jews, not nomadic nations, as in verse 1, 5, and 7. The Israelites form an episode which is specially described in verse 18. And B, the restoration of the exiles alike of the northern and of the southern kingdom. So I'm going to stop right there. Let's read this real quick. Okay? So check this out. Obadiah 1 and 20 says this. I'll read it in this translation first. It says, and the captivity of this host of the children of Israel shall possess that of the Canaanites, even unto Zarephath, or Zarephath, and the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in Sephardick, and shall possess the cities of the south. So you see different translations. It kind of says the same thing, right? But here's where it changes. In the GMD, it says the armies of the exiles in southern and northern Israel will return and conquer Phoenicia as far north as Sarepta. So I want you to remember Phoenicia, Philistines, Tyrese. Remember that? Okay, let's continue. The exiles from Jerusalem who are in Sardis. So now here we see Zepharat, but here we see Sardis. And then here we see Ephrata. I mean, you know what I mean?
Bruh.
So you got to be mindful that there's a lot of different meanings to this place. And then also you got to remember the timeline. The timeline is important. You cannot ignore the timeline. So then now let's go back. So it says here, who are to okay, so let's go. It says here, so the Israelites form an episode which is specially described, verse 18, and the restoration of the exiles who exiles alike of the northern and of the southern kingdom, who are to reoccupy. Let's remember that, who are to reoccupy the whole territory. Who are to reoccupy the whole of their ancient territory. You see what Obadiah is almost referencing. This is where it gets interesting, because you have to understand when you're reading the scriptures, don't one word and that you base your doctrine on that. Well, in that case, go back to John 3:16 and you're a Christian once more, because I can do that too. Then it says here, who are to reoccupy the whole of their ancient territory. The Negeb in the south, the Sephalah in the west, Ephraim to the north, Gilead in the east. So it's talking about the region of the land, correct? Then it says, verse 19, which after elimination of glosses reads, and they shall possess the Negeb and the Sephalah and the fields of Ephraim and Gilead. In particular, the Israelites will reoccupy as far north as Zarephath near Tyre. You see this? And the Jews as far as the Negeb. The prophecy closes with the announcement of the Yahweh or Yah's reign from Zion. You see this Zarephath. So then what do we read here? They call it that right there. You see this? This is where now this is even when it gets even more interesting, because I think in one of these they call this Sarepta. Now, this to me seems very awkward that you would even consider anywhere near that territory of Tarsus, because Tarsus was considered that town, and we're going to see that in a little bit. But let's continue. Okay. Now, here's another thing. When you read Maccabees 1 and 11, okay, it's kind of confusing here now. Now, not for me, but I'm just, I'm asking, because I'm like, okay. So me particularly, matter of fact, I'm just going to say it how I see it. I'm going to say it's kind of confusing. I'm just going to tell you what I see. First Maccabees 11 and 1, I'll read it. Then it says, the king of Egypt gathered together a great host, like the sand that lieth upon the seashore, and many ships, and went about through deceit to get Alexander's kingdom, and to join it to his own. Whereupon he took the journey to Spain in a peaceable manner, so that as they of the cities opened unto him and met him, for the king Alexander had commanded them to do so, because he was his brother-in-law. Now, okay, let me continue. Now, as Ptolemy entered into the cities, He set in every one of them a garrison of soldiers to keep it. Now, here's what interesting gets. There's several stuff here that's pretty deep. And when he came near to Azotus, they showed him the temple of the Dagon that was burnt, and Azotus and the suburbs thereof that were destroyed. Now, you're wondering, okay, what's going on here? Exactly. Alexander the Great, or even Alexander's kingdom, first of all, never went as far as Spain. That I need you to understand. It never went as far as Spain. Alexander the Great's kingdom was never in Spain, what we know of Spain today. Okay? So then also, it's saying like it's talking about a closer region, like kind of like you're not too far apart. You know what I mean? Because remember, they don't have like fast ass ships. We're talking about boats and people walking. Now, this land here, Azotus, I'm going to show you what that means. And by the way, here, I'm going to show you the little picture. Okay, here. This is the kingdom of Alexander. That's the kingdom of Alexander. Okay? And it's nowhere near where over there. Way over there. But now we're looking at Spain. Like, okay, that's, you know what I mean? Like, oh, hold on a second, family. Go to the next one. Now, Azotus is another different point that I want to make. But it's like, so where exactly is this concept here? The Spain stuff, you know what I mean? Now, here's the interesting part that I matter of fact, I had it already clear. Here's the interesting part, okay? Here's what even gets more interesting. So now, that's why I keep telling y'all, man, use as many translations as you can so you can understand what's going on. If you read Maccabees 11, okay? If you read Maccabees 11, remember it says, whereupon he took the journey into Spain in peaceable manner. So you're thinking, okay, Egypt is nowhere close to Spain, but Ptolemy is technically running that Egyptian area. And then he says that they went somewhere near to Azotus. So matter of fact, let's look up the word Azotus. Look, so where is that? So this word, Ashdod, that's what it means. Azotus is Ashdod. Biblical Azotus, also known as Ashdod. So now you're like, wait a minute, hold on. Spain way the hell over there, Egypt here, and then like Ashdod? You mean like right there in Palestine? Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Bruh.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on a second. That makes no sense. Okay, so now it even gets even more interesting because now let's look at the Septuagint. Look what it says. And that's why you have to read and you have to confirm everything. And it cannot be emotional. And here goes First Maccabees 11, verse 1 from the Septuagint. This was back then, way before we were born. And the king of Egypt gathered together the great host, like the sand that lieth upon the seashore, and many ships, and went about through the sea to get Alexander's kingdom and join it to his own. Whereupon he took his journey into Syria in peaceable manner. What the hell, bro? Syria? He calls it Syria here, but it's called Spain here. You see? So now, okay. So let me look up the word, this right here. Spania. It says here.
Strong's G 4681. Spania. Spania.
Spain. Scarceness. The whole peninsula south of the Pyrenees. Probably foreign origin. It says here the apostolic age. Romans. They use it in 1524. The more common grammar is formed in Maccabees 8. Apparently, the Phoenician or Latin name for, right? Remember this name. Phoenicians. 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 All right? Now, check this out. Now, I'm going to show you this real quick. Now, if you read it in this book, which is Geneva, and let's just read it, just for the sake of covering. Make sure that there's no like narrative here. It says, "And the captivity of his horses of the children of Israel, which were among the Canaanites, shall possess unto Zarephath, and the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in Sepharad, shall possess the cities of the south." Now, my next question is, if this is Spain, shall possess the cities of the south, well, where's the south beyond that? Spain is in the south. Is that North? That would be North Africa, but now we're not in the south now. Now we're in the North Africa part. Again, I'm trying to make sure that we understand all angles, because here we see once again in the Septuagint, he's calling Spain Syria. And then when you actually go into, the actual word, Obadiah, you go to 20, okay? You click on this because this is what it's here for us to learn. And I mean, it's not difficult. You know what I mean? You can't make it up. You can't go around it unless, then this doesn't matter unless you don't believe this. Then don't ever use this ever again. Don't ever mention concordances, or don't ever talk about that. Because here it says H5614, it says separated.
Strong's H5614, Sepharad. Sepharad.
It says here a foreign derivation, Sepharad, a region of Assyria. Okay, but check this out. Then it says location dubious. The other compared to Sparta in Asia Minor. Sardis. So it says compared to I don't know what that means, honestly. Compare Sepharda in the southwest Media, the time of Zargon, and the Sepharda in the northeast of Nineveh. It says a country elsewhere unknown, whither the exiles of Israel were carried away, according to the Vogue. Then it says here, according to the Syrian dial, the Hebrew writer Spain, which is clearly incorrect. Are we ignoring this now? It's saying it here in the concordance. It is clearly incorrect. That translation does not pertain to this one, because you're talking about an era that's extremely important. You have to understand what the eras are like. So now, remember I showed you guys Sarepta. Check this out. In Obadiah, in the Septuagint, it says here, that, remember Obadiah 1 Maccabees 11 and 2 in the Septuagint calls Spain Syria. Okay? Now, in the Septuagint, in Obadiah 1 and 20, it says this, and this shall be the dominion of the captivity of the children of Israel, the land, okay, of the Canaanites, as far as Zarepta. And then it says, and the captivities of Jerusalem shall inherit as far as Ephratah. And I'm like, okay, so now I go, okay, so what is Zarepta? So Zarepta is near Lebanon by the Phoenician city, okay? So let's say from the south. And then I go, Ephratah, I seen that somewhere. I'm not lying to you, family. This is why it's important to read. Because if you don't read, you can get easily manipulated. So I was reading this book I have here. Oh, hold on a second. Let me see if I can find the page first. Find the page, bro. Find the page, bro. Okay, here it goes. Here, let me just move it over here. All right, so let me see if I can go back. I'll show you guys this in a little bit. Oh, here it goes right here. Here it goes right here. Here it goes. So this is why I was tripping out. Remember, hold on. Remember, it says, oh, no. It says here, and the captives of Jerusalem shall inherit as far as Ephratah. Right? Okay. Okay. Here on this book, which is called The Bible Charts, Rose Books of Bible Charts, Maps, and Timelines. Excellent, excellent book if you want to teach your children or your wife, if she's newer to this whole understanding. This is an excellent book to have them. It has maps, charts, extended pages. It even includes something you can actually do separate from this. You can frame it. It actually breaks down different religions too. So again, you got to be mindful what you're showing your family, but it's a really, really good book. So anyways, in this book, it says, be born in the town of Bethlehem of Judea. It says Micah 5:2, but you, Bethlehem Ephratah. What the hell? Ephratah? But you, Bethlehem Ephratah? But you, Bethlehem Spaniard? You see what I'm saying? Here we see the same thing, the same name, Ephratah. So now, why am I doing this? Because you have to really, really understand what each word means. I'm not here trying to be friends with people, bro, just because, oh, it's cool. No, man. I'm trying to save my ass. Sarepta is in Phoenicia. So now it's like, dude, it keeps mentioning towns within Jerusalem, or Israel. Egypt, Phoenicia, Ashdod. Come on, man. So again, let's continue. Because like you have to really understand. I'll give you an example here. Here's another part. So if we go to, I think I showed it in this one, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was here, so I don't forget. Obadiah 120. And the armies of the exiles from northern Israel will return and conquer Phoenicia. You see? And the army of the exiles from the northern Israel will return and conquer Phoenicia as far as Sarepta. The exiles from Jerusalem who are in Sardis will capture the towns of southern Judah. So now I'm like, okay, well that can't be so. So where's Sardis? It's from another book I have regarding the actual, just like a similar chart book. Well, here is in Asia Minor at the tip, as you see where Paul traveled. You see where Sardis is right here? Message to Sardis, you have a name that you are alive, but you are dead. Sardis was here, not in Spain. So again, sometimes when there's discrepancies, you got to confirm it. Because once more, we read it and we got concordance. Do we ignore it now?
Strong's H 5614. Sepharad.
So here it talks about compared to Sparta in Asia Minor. And we're going to read that word too in a little bit. Then it says compare to Sephardick in the southwest of Media, the time of Sargon. A Sephardick also northeast of Nineveh. Then it says here on the bottom, and the Hebrew writers Spain, which is clearly incorrect. Others suppose Sephara, but this apparently would be rather. You see this right here. Let me see what you got, bro. Let's not forget the Aryans are the original Europeans, the people of ancient Iran. Ooh. And again, it's only one time. Just one word. One time. You find Spain twice in Romans. You find Spain twice in Maccabees. So now let's get a little history on España. It says here España, nearly identical, pronounced Spain, Portugal, Catalan, was the Roman name for the Iberian Peninsula. I'm going to give you some history on this too, by the way. And under Roman Republic, España was divided in two provinces, España Superior and España Ulterior. Little history here. Then we see the etymology. The origin are very disputed, very true. The most commonly held theory holds it that be of Punic origin from Phoenician language. Now, we know that the Philistines, right, Phoenicia, was seeking for tin in Tarsus. We know that. I mean, if you read the Bible, you should understand. And by the way, I did a class on this in 2022, like in October, I believe. Okay, and I think it's verse 27, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Here it's talking about all the people that he worked with to get people in slavery. Tarshish. Ezekiel 27:12. Tarshish was thy merchant by the reason of the multitudes of the rich of kinds of riches with silver, iron, tin, and lead, and they traded in their fares. Who? Verse 3. I say unto Tyrese, hold out that are situated in the entry of the sea, which are a merchant of the people of many isles. Thus say the Lord God, O Tyrese, thou hast said, I am of perfect beauty. So we here see the lamentation of Tyre. So we know now that there was history in Tyre. I'm sorry, in Tarsus or Tarsus. And I'm gonna show you some stuff that shows that. But again, let's continue. So we have some Phoenician history regarding the first war and the second Punic War, the colonizing of Carthage, because this is who was fighting with the Romans at the time. All right, so look, it says here, and some people like to laugh, but I don't give a shit, you know what I mean? Because I read. So who's more of an idiot? The most commonly held theory holds it to be the Punic origin for the Phoenician language of colonizing Carthage. Specifically, it may derive from a Punic cognate, Isapan, or Hebrew, Isaphan, Hebrew, meaning island of the Hyrax. Small, stout, herbivoric mammals in the order of hyracoids, meaning referring to the European rabbit. Phoenicians, Punic, and Hebrew are both Canaanite languages and therefore closely related to each other. Some Roman coins of the Emperor Hadrian, born in Hispania, depict Hispania and a rabbit. Others derive the word from Phoenician spam, meaning hidden. There is true that for quite some time, the Phoenicians were actually digging for tin and gold and silver. And matter of fact, it's even read in the Bible. We see that in the Bible too. Because we know that Solomon was actually sending them to start. Matter of fact, I'll show you here. He was sending them to Tarshish. Oh, my bad. See? So we have Tarshish, which is in the sons of Javan, Genesis 10:4. The sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. In First Chronicles talks about it again. I'm sorry, Second Chronicles 9:21. For the kingships went to Tarshish, but the servants of Haran. Every 3 years once they came to the ships of Tarshish, bringing gold, silver, ivory, and apes and peacocks. Though we'll continue to see. So now, let's go to the history of Hispania. The history of Spain dates to contact between the pre-Roman peoples of Mediterranean coast and Iberian Peninsula made with the Greeks and Phoenicians. We see that during classical antiquity, the peninsula was a suite of multiple successive colonizations. Greeks, Carthaginians, and Romans. Native people of the peninsula, such as the Tarcessals. You see that? Where is that at, family? Southern Spain. Southern Spain. I'm not lying. I'm telling you. Tarshish is in the Bible. And Tarshish, it's not Sepharad. And Tarshish would have been called Spain, but it's not called Spain. So we're talking about something else. Tarcessos, Spanish, Tartessos, is defined by archaeological discoveries, a historical civilization settled in southern Iberian Peninsula. Iberia is a peninsula in and again, I don't want to get too deep into that word, but I'll go someday into it so you can see how interesting that goes. Characterized by its mixture of local Paleo-Hispanic and Phoenician traits. It had a writing system identified as Tarsenian that includes some 97 inscriptions of Tarsenian language. That is Portuguese, that mainly located in south of Portugal and southwest of Spain. If Sepharad was Spain, why didn't they call it Tarsis? Why would you do that? You know what I mean? And clearly it's telling you that it's not Spain. We can continue to go. Even Herodotus speaks on it. Here we see some history. Now, it's mentioned Sargon. Who is this Sargon? Sargon, by the way, was in the you can hear about him in the Assyrian Wars. Okay, we're talking about a while. Sargon's rise to power. Salmanassar V, it comes from that lineage. Like, let's put it this way. I think Sargon II is around 700 BC. Okay, 700 BC. Expanding into Syria Empire throughout conquest. Obadiah was not written in 700 BC. Stop lying. Do your homework. Sargon's capital city. So this is what we're talking about here. Sargon. Now, let me show you something. Is it in here? Okay, it's not in here. Let's go a little history here. Sargon. Sargon flourished 23rd century BC. Was an ancient Mesopotamian ruler who reigned 2334, 2279 BC. See, there's some history to this. He was one of the earliest of the world's great empires builders, conquering all southern Mesopotamia as well as parts of Syria, Anatolia, and Elam, west Iran. He established the region's first Semitic dynasty, because he was of the line of Abraham, technically, in case you guys don't know. So when you go into this Sargon, I think it's in here. Is it in here? No, it's not in here. Do a little homework on Sargon. Now, we look into this word here, and then you start kind of getting interesting in this. It says Sepharad, or Sepharad is a Hebrew language name of the Iberian Peninsula. So they say, consisting of both modern times. But see, this is what you're talking about. If you go, just go to quick Wikipedia. That's what it says. So everybody's going to get confused. Because if you go here, well, yeah, that's easy. That's not a lot of work. You know what I'm saying? That's not a lot of work. I mean, that's easy. Hey, look, this is what it means. Yeah, if that's what it meant. But that's not what it means. Let's continue. Check this out. This is from the Bible Gateway, Sepharad. A place mentioned by Obadiah as the site of the exiles of certain captives from Jerusalem. It has been identified with Sephardah, a country which appears in the Assyrian annals of Sargon II as a district of southwest Media. Isaiah chapter 55. Most probable, however, it is to be identified with Sardis. Once again, where's Sardis? Right here. At the edge of Asia Minor. That's where Sardis is. The capital of Lydia. The difference in spelling is not linguistically objectable, since an Aramaic Lydian bilingual inscription found at Sardis refers to Sardis as the same consonant as in Sepharad. Sardis appears as Sparta in Old Persian inscription. In the light of this, the citation of Sepharad and Obadiah is of great historical importance, for it indicates the existence of Jewish colonies at Sardis as early as the book of Obadiah, which was written, by the way. I think it's important to kind of show y'all. I think it only makes sense. Obadiah was not written in 700 BC. Please do your homework. Obadiah was written around 590 BC, 580 BC, 40 to 50 years prior to us departing the 10 tribes, so-called. Not in 700 BC at all. I don't know where you're getting this. In light of this, the citations of Sepharad in Obadiah 20 is of great historical importance, for this indicates the existence of the Jewish colony at Sardis as early as the book of Obadiah. The importance of Sardis as a center of trade between the sea routes of the Aegean and the interior land routes make it not surprising that Jewish exiles should be found there. The Targums mistakenly identified Sepharad with Spain, hence Spanish Jews are called Sephardims.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
And by the way, nowhere can you find that this demon here is a Sephardic Jew. I heard through a little birdie that now Bartolomé de las Casas was a Sephardic Jew. Yeah, that's what I heard. So now, in order for, I guess, some people to fit a narrative, now they're trying to tell you that Bartolomé de las Casas was a Jew. He wasn't. You know who was?
His name is Colon. And so in Spanish we have it right, Cristobal Colon. So his real name is Salvador Zarco. All right, but now recently we've discovered that Christopher Columbus, Cristobal Colon, was known as a quote-unquote marrano. Marrano?
That's funny, bro.
The marranos are those that were forced to convert to Roman Catholicism. Well, the Sephardim, the Jews, okay.
There you are. Now, let's get a little history here. Now that we're trying to understand this whole Obadiah crap, because we know it's flawed. It's flawed, too flawed. If you're gonna believe that, then by all means, please, I'll go off for it, man. By all means, please go off for it. But if you're gonna try to tell me those are my hinted, hell, the hell, F no. So as you can see from the book that I was talking about, A New Voyage to Italy, it talks about the Germans, right? Jews and the Southern Jews, like Portuguese or Spaniards, whatever. It's typically like, it wasn't necessarily down here, but it's right there. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's talking about, Portugal. So you can see that, okay? So now, let's get a little history on these guys. For the last 1,000 years, sure, the Jewish people have, for the most part, been grouped into two categories. The Ashkenaz and the Sepharad. Contemporary Ashkenazim, or Yiddish-speaking Jews, and descendants of Yiddish-speaking Jews, right? It says, descendants of Yiddish-speaking Jews. Sephardim originates in the Iberian Peninsula and Arabic lands. While there's a difference in culture, language, genetics, and nuance of ritual observances, the commonality between the two groups are much stronger than what divides them. Thus, a Sephardi from Morocco and an Ashkenazi from Moscow would immediately find common ground in a prayer service that is 95% identical. 95% identical in their spiritual belief. That has to matter to you too. Don't go by one word. And if it is by one word, understand what that word means and make sure you do a thorough analysis on that particular thing. Because your whole doctrine is based on those things. If you're kind of like Christianity, it's based on John 3:16, and that is flawed. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. They all practice the same customs. Yeah, they do. I'm going to show you. Hey, by the way, so here it says here, Sepharad is the Hebrew name for Spain. It's not true. Thus, the Jewish people live in Spain, and the Abraham Pilgrims became known as Sephardim. But it's not true. The earliest record Jewish settlements in Spain dates back to 3rd century, and Jews may have been living in Spain since the first temple period. Once again, not true, because we got the Vulgars and a lot of people in the Franks. We got a lot of people that really were going back and forth. The Phoenicians, come on, man, let's go. Having grown into prominence under Muslim rule, they were arguably the most illustrious Jewish community in the world. Sepharad produced the Torah scholars, scientists, financiers. Oh, let's read it again. Sepharad produced Torah scholars, scientists, financiers, and thought leaders who works as still being studied today, including Isaac Abravanel, okay, Nachmanides, known by the acronym Rambam on the Torah, and Maimonides or Maimonides. He was a known by acronym, and he was a codified philosopher, communal leader, and custom position to Sultan Saladin in Egypt. Author of a commentary on the Mishnah, the book of mitzvahs, Mishneh Torah, the guided or the perplexed, and other works. So here we see that these people here, the Jews in Sepharad, developed their own language, Ladino, which is why I'm telling you there's a history in the word Ladino in Mexico. In case you guys don't know, do your homework. So now, here we go here in the origins of Ashkenaz. You guys can see it. They're going to tell us some stuff. Ashkenaz in biblical name is grandson of Japhet. Perhaps because the area had been from Rome, blah, blah, blah. You guys can kind of see where it's going. I'm going to show you this. As Jews in Ashkenaz suffered successful waves of murderous crusades, Talmud burnings, massacres, and severe repressions, they made their way to the more welcoming lands to the east. There, Ashkenazi lives flourished. And Yiddish, a Jewish concoction of German and Hebraic, or Hebrew, Aramaic, and more, became the dominant language of the Jews in Eastern Europe until the double scourges of Nazism and communism. Sure. So now, here's what's interesting. The burning of Talmuds. We're going to get into it in a little bit. What is the difference? Not really much. Maybe they eat a little bit of different food. You know what I'm saying? Maybe. It says that Sephardim spoke mostly Ladino, Portuguese, or Arabics. So they say. But we see from the new voyage of Italy, the new voyage to Italy, says that they can't prove that they were. They have no understanding of their history. They were just called Jews by name. Now, Ashkenazim stored the Torah, scrolls in velvet covers, so they say. But let's continue. And then we'll move on from this. Because I think at this point, I've proven my point. Some great Ashkenazis and Sephardic leaders. Hasdia ibn Saprut was the person that was in communication. I think this date is wrong because I believe this is the person that was in communication with the Khazars when they were converting. Well, here goes right here. Look, Ashkenaz. Sepharad, supposedly. Look, Rift, Sepharad, a native of Fez, Morocco, rabbi. That Morocco is North Africa, by the way. Summarized the entire Talmud. That's not the Torah. Rashi, Torah and Talmud leader. Reuben Otam, commentator to the Talmud. Born in Spain, perhaps most influential teacher of Torah. Rabbi Moses ben Miaman, that's basically Maimonides, wrote extensively in Jewish law. This guy here, Rosh, he drew from both Ashkenazi and Sephardic traditions in his Halachic commentary on the Talmud. And so on, and so on, and so on. What is the Talmud? We've gone through this a couple times already. I'm trying to make a point. The rise of Sephardim, man. Here is everything that's included in that. The Sepharad, they were teaching that. That's why they were burning at the stake. Let's continue.
Mashiach. I don't know if you know this. Do you know that they gave Donald Trump the silver crown of the Torah recently, which is to be put on the head of the Messiah? Do you know this?
Who was that?
163 Orthodox rabbis.
Oh, wow.
Came together at Trump's golf course and handed him the silver crown. Do you know any of that?
Nope.
They gave him a menorah about 2 weeks ago, and on the bottom the inscription says the Prince of Peace, an utterance out of the prophet Isaiah for the Mashiach, the Messiah. Do you know that happened? So you guys have no idea that they, in Israel, the Knesset, and in the Sanhedrin have proclaimed Donald Trump the Messiah. You know none of this. They gave Trump the silver crown of the Torah. Got that? That's the silver crown of Jerusalem. This is to be given to the Messiah and the Messiah only. And 163 Orthodox Jewish rabbis gave Donald Trump the silver crown of the Torah. I worked 4 years on Trump's campaign team. These guys are, this is the inscription, which you can't read, but you can read it here. They're calling him the Prince of Peace. This is an utterance out of the prophet Isaiah. Donald Trump is considered the Mashiach of Israel, the Messiah, according to these rabbis.
This is both of them in agreement. Not just Ashkenazis, not just Khazars. You're going to carve out the Khazars. Oh, the Ashkenazis tell us we're not the people, but, Sephardics are because they're the northern kingdom. You guys are crazy, bro. To believe that silliness. That just means that you don't study, you don't know the Bible. And I don't know why you're being misled, people. I don't understand how you cannot actually see and confirm it for yourself. Because scripturally speaking, check this out. Here we see Holofernes asking questions. Okay? The chief captain of the army of Ashur. They're trying to pass through that hill country, and he's asking about Israel. So now he's going through the whole history. I bring you guys regarding Abraham to this book as well. Judith 5. Remember Abraham, the Chaldeans? Okay. In this very same chapter, I'm sorry, not book, he goes and says this. He's talking about how when we were with the Most High, he got rid of all these other nations for us. And he says this. Verse 17, Judith 5:17. And while they sin not before their God, let me repeat that. And while they sin not before their God, that also includes not teaching people the Talmud, the Mishnah, and that doesn't mean that, only a section of us were teaching that. No, that means that if a section of you are teaching it, everybody suffers. Why do you think we're still going through what we're going through? You don't have people in Christianity? But all of a sudden, that's ignored. It says, and while they sinned not before their God, meaning when they were just keeping the Torah, not the Talmud or Mishnah or Zohar or the Sepharad or the Ein Sof or the Tree of Life or the 10 connections of Jacob's Ladder, all of that stuff that comes included with the Kabbalah teaching, which is what the Talmud is derived. It's basically part of its branch. And while they sinned not before their God, they prospered because the God that hated iniquity was with them. You telling me that the Most High loves the Talmud? You telling me that the golden age with the Jews, with the Moors, that it was good because, is this what you're saying? They prospered because the God that hated iniquity was with them. I'm going to show you some history regarding these people, how they were teaching, the Sephardics and Ashkenazis were practicing Kabbalah. Ain't no lie to that. I don't have to lie. There's no need for it. I'll show you. As a matter of fact, let's bring it to you now. It says, but when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore, and were led captive into a land that was not theirs. And the temple of their God was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by the enemies. But now they are returned to their God, and are come up from the places where they were scattered, and have possessed Jerusalem, where the sanctuary is, and are seated in the hill country, for it was desolate. So now if you want to go and say, well, you see, they fell, but now they're back. So what you're saying is the Talmud is still working for them. So the Most High is about the Talmud. Is that what we're going to say now? Let's go to the history of the Jews. This is a very interesting book. I highly recommend for you guys to get it. What? Stop it. I recommend for you to get it. Okay. In page 469, watch what it says regarding the Kabbalah. It says the theoretical Kabbalah. The Jews considered the Kabbalah one section of their traditional. By the way, this is from the book called A History of the Jews by Solomon Grazel. Some of you guys know about this book. So let's continue. Actually, no. I don't think it's that one. Hold on. Give me a second, okay? Hold on. I got it incorrect. I think it's 469. Oh, no. It is that one. It is A History of the Jews, okay? So it says here now. Let's go back. The Jews consider the Kabbalah one section of their traditional theoretical teachings, okay? Remember, the North and the South. The same Jews, quote unquote, are Jewish. They can't prove their history. They don't know nothing about their ancestry. They can't even pronounce words properly, okay? Yet one result of the situation, I'm sorry, hold on. Let me start again. The Jews consider the Kabbalah one section of the traditional theoretical teaching, hopeful, revealing, inspiring, but not calling for action other than deeper piety. Yet one result of the situation in which the Jews found themselves in the 16th century was a change in attitude towards the Kabbalah. This change was the more remarkable because it occurred among the Spanish Jews. The Sephardicks. Okay? Until the 13th century, they had differed from German and French Jews in that the latter were more interested in Kabbalah, meaning Germans and French, while the Spanish were more rationalistic and philosophical. Not that they weren't teaching or learning the Kabbalah, but they were more like maybe in the Zohar, because that's more of the rationalistic and philosophical. Maimonides is a Sephardic rabbi, so obviously they were learning from him. It was around this time. When, however, misfortune began to overcome, I'm sorry, not about that time, it was a little bit after, my bad. When, however, misfortune began to overwhelm the Jews of Spain, as life became more troubled, as the future grew more dark, Kabbalistic teachings gained in popularity among them. The expulsion of 1492 completed the victory of the mysticism. Thereafter, the Jews of Spanish origin became the leaders in the study of Kabbalah. Are you telling me that they were ruling? And they I mean, even when they weren't getting it so bad, we see that the Germans and the French were studying it more than them. Scripturally speaking, it says here, hey man, but when they departed, Judith 5:18, but when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles. However, while they sinned not, that's verse 17, and while they sinned not before their God, they prospered. You telling me that these were the golden ages they were prospering when they were teaching the Talmud, the Zohar, the splendors, the Mishnah, all of that stuff? I'm confused. So, I mean, if that case, so we can go to strip joints then. Have multiple wives, go sin all our lives. That don't matter. It don't matter because I guess it doesn't matter. It says they saw, and it says, so it says here, let me read it again. The expulsion of 1492 completed the victory of mysticism. Thereafter, the Jews of Spanish origin, Sephardic, became the leaders in the study of Kabbalah. They sought in it the reason for the suffering they had to endure, as well as an indication of the time and the conditions of their redemption. As might have been expected, the thought of redemption was more prominent in the minds of the new settlers in Palestine than among the other Jews. Let's see. This is the same page. Thought the Messiah would appear. Let's see. Do I need to read this? The practical. Okay, practical Kabbalah. These people were not superstitious. Superstition fundamentally is based on fear. Actually, you know what? I don't need to read that because that's kind of the point I wanted to make. So now we're seeing some teachings of Kabbalah, right? They took it upon themselves. But now let's look at this real quick. This is from a book called The Talmud Unmasked. The Secret Rabbinical Teachings Concerning Christians. right? Written in 1939. All right. Let's go to, I think maybe this page. We read this one. I think it's here. Page 8. Check this out. It says here, let our writings be open to all the people. Let them see what our moral code is like. We need not be afraid of this test, for we have a pure heart and a clean spirit. Let the nations investigate the habitations of the children of Israel, and of their own accord, convince themselves of what they are really like. You see this? So let us supposedly see the Talmud for what it is, so then we can see us as how they see us, like animals. They will then exclaim for certain with Balaam when he went out to curse Israel. How beautiful are thy tents of Israel? How beautiful are thy homes? In its attitude towards non-Jews, the Jewish religion is the most tolerant of all religions in the world. The precepts of the ancient rabbis, though inimical to the Gentiles, cannot be applied in any way to Christians. You see this? You see this? Okay, so now let me just kind of, hold on. Let me read this. The whole series of opinions can be quoted from the writings of the highest rabbinical authorities to prove that these teachers inculcated in their own people a great love and respect for Christians, in order that they might look upon Christians who believe in the true God as brothers and pray for them. We hereby declare that the Talmud does not contain anything inimical to Christians. That's what they say. But let's go here. On page 19. No. Where you at? Is it this one? I'll start here. It says here, let's see. You see this? Let me read this again real quick. Since the Talmud was such a voluminous, disordered work, there was need of a compendium which would facilitate the study. To supply this need, thereby Rabbi Isaac ben Jacob Alfisi in 1032 published a shorter Talmud, which he called Halakot, the Constitution. You see this? The first to issue a well-ordered work in Jewish law was Maimonides, styled Eagle of the Synagogue. Interesting. So now let's continue. So Maimonides is somebody that they really, really care about. Maimonides is a Sephardic rabbi who, again, added commentaries to the Talmud. Let's see this real quick. Watch what he says. In the track Bahab Metzi, Folly 33, those who devote themselves to reading the Bible exercise a certain virtue, but not very much. Those who study the Mishnah exercise virtue for which they will receive a reward. Those, however, who take upon themselves to study the Gemara exercise the highest virtue. So here it says that the Bible don't mean nothing to them. The sacred scriptures is like water, the Mishnah wine, and the Gemara aromatic wine. Then he says somewhere else, my son, give heed to the words of the scribes rather than to the words of the law. Well, technically, I already gave you guys the name of the book. Let me see if I can give you guys a link. Here was a link. The words of both, look what it says. The words of both are the words of the living God. In the book of MESHIACHA, chapter 5, we find the following opinion. There's nothing superior to the Holy Talmud. You see this right here? Nothing superior to the Holy Talmud. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? Now, let's continue. What Christians have taught of the Talmud is amply proved by the many edicts and decrees issued by the supreme ruler, the church, the state, yada, 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 yada. We see this here, that even back then, these guys were actually getting pissed at them. Look, In 553, the Emperor Justinian forbade the spread of the Talmudic books throughout the Roman Empire. In 13th century, Pope Gregory the Ninth and Innocent IV condemned the books of the Talmud as containing every kind of vileness and blasphemy against Christian truth, and ordered them to be burned because they spread horrible heresies. You see this here? Yeah, they added and subtracted from the scriptures. Later, they were condemned by many other Roman pontiffs. So we see several, and by others who issued an edition of the Index Forbidden Books according to the order of the Father of Council 10, and even on our own time. So those that are going around saying, oh, you know, they were being burned because they were our brethren. No, they were being burned because they were pushing the Talmud. That's why they were being burned. At the beginning of the 16th century, when the peace of the church was disturbed by the new religion, the Jews began to distribute the Talmud openly, aided by the art of printing them recently invented. The first printed edition of the whole Talmud, containing all its blasphemies against the Christian religion, was published in Venice in 1520, or the year 1520. In almost all Jewish books published in that century, which was favorable to them, and are complete and genuine. Now, keep in mind that at this time, they were planning on taking away the Bible from us, which is, we never got that this whole entire time. They were, however, printing the stuff they wanted. So at the end of the 16th century, we still didn't get a Bible. And at the beginning of the 17th century, they made sure not to print anything. We didn't know how to read and write. Many famous men undertook diligent study to the Talmud. The Jews, fearing for themselves, began to expunge parts of the Talmud which were openly inimical to Christians. Thus, the Talmud, which was published at Bales in 1578, has been mutilated in many places. Now you see. Now, why do I keep bringing this up? Why is this important? Because it is important. It is definitely important. Check this out. Let's go to page 14, I believe. Is it page 14? Check this out. This is the Freemasonry book, volume 1. And they actually study the Talmud. Okay? Their definition of Adam is this. The entered apprentice decrees symbolizes the creation of man and his first perception of life. In the Elohist form of the creation, we read, Elohim said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let him have dominion over the fishes and the seas, over the fowls of the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every reptile that creepeth upon the earth. And Elohim created man in his image. In the image of Elohim, he created him. In the image of Elohim, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Okay? So it says, and Yah, well, you know what it says, Yah, I'll just say Yah. Elohim formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man was made a living being. Here we see something interesting. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I thought it was already highlighted. My bad. Male and female. Okay, here goes. I think it says right here. There it goes, right here. According to the Jewish tradition, okay, this is from the Freemasonry book. According to Jewish tradition, in the Targum and the Talmud, as also to Moses, Maimonides, do you understand that? The Maimonides, a Sephardic rabbi. Adam was created man and woman at the same time, having two faces, turned into two opposite directions, and that during a stupor, the Creator separated Hava, his feminine half, from him in order to make of her a distinct person. Thus were separated the primordial androgen, meaning androgynous. Wow. This is from the Talmud on Mask. Let's just go to just a few pages and that's it. I'm not going to go too deep on this. You guys can actually take care of the link. Here you go right there. I think it's important you guys understand what this actually means. Oh, I already went through this. My bad. because this right here, these books, in case you care, maybe you don't, maybe some of you guys don't care. Here we see how they feel about the Mashiach. I'll just read this and see what you feel about it, okay? Just one portion of it. This is from a book called the Talmud, what it is and what it knows about Jesus and their followers. 1887. Okay. The Talmud has to say about Jesus. He mentions him in different names. I just want you to get to the point of it. Let me get to the point of it real quick. Hold on. Be patient with me, please. I think it's here. Oh, no, not that. Not yet. Here goes. I think it's right here. Here it goes. Let's see what it says about the Mashiach, Jesus of Nazareth. He says hold on. Says he calls them in different names, but here we see that they're calling him something else. Page 114 says, at this, Joshua betook himself to the turn, and on the way he stooped at an inn where he was greatly honored. What is in the inn this is? I'm sorry, what a fine inn it is. And said the rabbi, Jesus said, her eyes are sore. At this, the rabbi said, thou impious fellow, do you pay attention to such things? He brought 400 trumpets and excommunicated him. Jesus asked very often to be readmitted again, but in vain. One day when the rabbi recited the words, hear, O Israel, Jesus appeared again before him. The rabbi met signs, but Jesus misunderstood them and thought the rabbi did not care for him. At this, Jesus turned away and erected an altar and bowed before it. When the rabbi told him to repent, Jesus answered, I have learned from thee this doctrine. Whoever sinneth and causeth others to sin can never repent. And said Jesus was a sorcerer and seduced and misled Israel. Okay. So let's continue here. They call him Balaam as well in this book. Check this out. Let me see if I can find it. Here it goes right here. Page 117. It's Tara and Pandera. In treaties, Sabbat, Folly 104. Remember, this is from the Talmud. This is what these Jewish people believe, Sephardic, Ashkenazi, the same concept, okay? Rabbi Eleazar said that to the sage, did not the son of Stada bring sorcery from Egypt into a cut of his flesh? They replied, he was a fool, and fools cannot be used in evidence. You call him a son of Stada? He was a son of Pandera. Rav Shizda said the husband of Mary was Stada, but her gallant man was Pandera, but her husband was Papos ben Jehuda, meaning Joseph. Yes, but his mother was Stada. But now was not his mother Mary, the hairdresser, but by Stada, the mother of Jesus, meant to indeed, which names was only her surname, as used to say, Pumba Tidat, she left her husband, meaning an adulterous person. Here on the bottom says, the Panthera said to have been illegitimate, the father of Jesus, with a tradition current before the composition of the Talmud. For as early as the second century, Celsus again, whom Origen wrote this treatise, introduced a Jew who was speaking of the mother of Jesus. When she was pregnant, she was turned out the doors by her carpenter, to whom she had been betrothed, as guilty as adultery, and that she bore a child to a certain soldier named Pandera. The word Pandera, or as it's written in Talmud, Pandera, seems to have been used as an allegory sense, meaning the son of a wanton. Now let's continue here. In Sanhera, Folly 17, column 1, we read, thus they did the son of Stada in Lydia. They hid witnesses who could listen to his heresy without being seen, and hung him on the eve of Passover. So you can call a son of Stada as above. Balaam. It says here. The letter replied that nothing is written concerning sins. However, it is written that bloody and deceitful men shall live out half their lives. He was 33 or 34 years old. You are right, replied the Christian. I have seen myself chronicle of Balaam, wherein it is written, 33 years old was Balaam the lame when he was killed by Phinehas the robber. Often Jesus is hidden under the name of Balaam. According to the Jewish tradition, Jesus was lame because he was deprived of his magic virtue. And so on, and so on, and so on. Hey, saludos, enemigos. Yeah, that's it's crazy that they even goes that way. And again, man, I already know. I know what's going on, bro. I see there's a few people watching, and I get it. And I don't matter to me. I'm not here for likes or subscribers. It's very clear to me that people don't give a shit. But I'm going to show you what I know, so then maybe you guys that are really trying to search scripture can be guided and say, let me see what you got. Let me read it. You're right. It makes sense. Why am I going hard on this? Because you have to understand, for a long time, we've been told that we're certain people, and then some people come up and say that we're part of this dumbass 12-tribe chart, and a lot of us fell for it. And then now we're being told some other stuff like left and right, that we're not the actual people of this continent now. And now that we're now they're stretching us this way or that way. So all I'm trying to do is say, look, man, I'm good where I'm at. The Sepharad. The characteristic features of Luria's system in the speculative Kabbalah, in his definition of the Sepharad, and his theory of the intermediary agents, which he calls Parsufin, face. This right here. You guys better read this. Now you'll understand what I'm talking about. Nothing new under the sun, man. Ecclesiastes 3:15. It says here, that which had been is now, and that which is to had, and that which is to be had already been. And God required that which is past, because we see it again and again and again. This is nothing new. You shouldn't be impressed nor surprised. You should understand that there's a lot of folly, misunderstanding, lacking of study habits. Unfortunately, that's just the way people are. But if you fall for the folly and think that, I'm going to go by what they believe, then you're no different than them. Because the way I see it is too much information to try to prove that certain people are certain people. Listen, man, if I just cared about fitting in, I would have never left these camps. I would have still believed. in the 12-tribe chart. This is from the Jews and the Moors in British Columbia. Page 8. Historians speculate that the first Europeans to sight land on October 12, 1492 was also Jewish. The sailor Juan Rodriguez Bermejo, called Rodrigo de Triana, left Spain upon Columbus' return and entered the service of Moors in Morocco. His name and memory are honored today by American Jews, from whom the story of the auspicious beginning is a point of immense pride. He was a so-called Sephardic. Hundreds of Jews exiled from Spain and Portugal followed Bermejo and made a name for themselves as Jewish pirates of the Caribbean. Like the movie Pirates of the Caribbean, that's what they're talking about. They just exclude the Jewish part. As authors Edward Christian calls him, including Moroccan-born Samuel Placra, the pirate rabbi. Do your homework. Because all over this book, check this out. Look at this. Look at how many. Look how many times it's mentioned. Look at that. Hey, you know what's funny? There was actually more likes. I think there was like 9 likes. Now there's only 7. I don't know if it's YouTube or if it's people because they get offended. It's okay. I don't care. 373 times the name Sephardic pops up in this book. And in this book, if you read it, it shows how successful they were. There were governors, there were attorneys, there were judges. Francis Drake, compatriots from Sephardic and Morisco navigators, following Sephardic Morisco maps. These people enslaved our gente. Sephardic Jewish antecedents, but the Spanish were as well. These people were supportably our gente. And what occurred? Does that not matter now? Again, man, it don't, you guys can believe what you want to believe, but I'm just going to show you some things, and that's it. I'm almost done. I'm not going to go any longer. This is from the Lost Tribes of Myth, page 282. On the bottom, it says here, I'll start here. Here goes. Herodotus is supported by his contemporary Obadiah, who declares the exiles from Halah and Harbor shall possess the lands of Canaanites, and as far as the Seraphat and the exiles of Jerusalem who are in Sepharad shall possess the cities of Southland. It says, page 283, Sargonite times, the Sepharda are part of the Medo-Camarian invasion in southwest Media, which is Persia Mede, remember? Southwestern Media, Asia Minor. In the time of Darius, Hestapsis, which is the son of Cyrus. Now remember, King Cyrus ruled Israel, a little bit of Asia Minor, and all across the continent, all across the country heading to India. His son took over Egypt and then all Asia Minor and all across that way. Keep that in mind. In the time of Darius, which was around 500, between 520 to 400 and change. Keep that in mind, because I don't know if this is the first or the second one. But let's continue for the sake of time. In the time of Darius, his Hestapades, 200 years later, they appeared in the Western Asian Minor, in southern Bithynia and adjacent river lands. This includes the Parthenian River region. Whence it appears that the previously cited Gomer migration that overran Hittite Cappadocia seems to have had the Sepharda as its advance guard and to have pushed them thus to the west of Cappadocia. But how far west? Now, Cappadocia is basically touching now in the Greek lands or Roman, like that so-called Iberian Peninsula. But how far west? For Judaism, for more than 2,000 years, has been using Sephardim as a name for the Jews farther west. And they have mistakenly connected Sepharad with the Greek Hesperides. Two recent discoveries clear the whole matter up. Excavation at Sardis proved that Sfard, remember we read that, was an older name for the city. An Lydian bilingual inscription identifies Sfard with the Aramaeans, the name Sepharad, which is in the Babylonian Sepharda. Elamite is Sparda, the Sparda of the Jesustain inscription. So the Sepharda were in the Sardis. So the Sepharda were in Sardis. And their names were identified with the city of early Persian times. It wasn't in Spain. That's way the hell over there. And if you really want to use the Bible, well, Spain is mentioned in the Bible, and Alexander the Great was never ruling Spain. So why would he even consider that land? The second important discovery is a very short inscription of Darius' Hestapades found by Professor Ernest Hersfeld at the Hand Dam in 1927. It is trilingual in Old Persian, New Elamite, and Babylonian. It says, Darius the great king, the king of kings, the king of lands, Hestapades, son, the Achaemenian. Darius the king says, this kingship that I hold is from Scythia, the Sakas, which is beyond Sagdo Diana, to Kush, from India, the Indus, to Sardis, Sparta, which Ahura Mazda gave me, who is the greatest of the rest of the gods. May Ahura Mazda protect me with the gods of my household. Now, they practice Zoroastrianism. In case you don't know, look it up. It will be observed that northern Scythia and Ethiopia are the northern and southern limits, while the Indus Valley, almost to Bombay, and Sparta are eastern and western limits. You see, so how could he from Ethiopia all the way to from India all the way to Spain? That never happened. Since Nubia was being subdued in 517 BC, and Samos, was not invaded till 516, The date of inscription must be 517. Hold on. 517. Anyways. So let's continue. We're almost done with this. Oh, my bad. Oh. Here it goes right here. 383. Oh, no, hold on. 384. Hence, Jews who use Sephardim as a term for Jews in far west must have begun doing so when those of the Sardes region were the farthest west. They may have been before the time of Darius. It was many centuries later that Sephardim began to use for Jews in Spain and Portugal. Many centuries later. But we read in the New Voice Italy that these mofos couldn't even prove that they were the real Jews. And this must have been because colonies from Western Asia Minor shaped the later Judaism of Spain. The term Sephardim does not occur in the Talmud, the compilation of which began 740 years after Darius' tablets were written. So how come it's not in the Talmud? Jerome, 900 years after the Darius tablet, was taught by his Hebrew teacher that Obadiah referred to the Taurian Borporis, whose Hello-Iranic population we have seen to be identical, much of the same as Hello-Iranic people that dominated northwestern Asia Minor for some time. As for Sardes itself, we've seen the pictures. Josephus tells us that there was an ancient Jewish community and temple in Sardes long before his time. It will receive special attention on chapter 12. Reverting to Obadiah, he agrees with Herodotus that circumcising Syrians from Jerusalem are in the Parthians regions in this day as far as west as Sardes. Okay, like this. Sardes, Asia Minor. It would appear that neither they nor the Israelite colonies that have been in Hala or Harbor for 300 years are very favorable conditions at the time. Observe again, the Sargonoid Israelite colonies are not lost tribes at this time. Remember that. The Sargonoid Israelite colonies are not lost tribes at this time. In the next generation, some of them meet Obadiah's anticipation under the leadership of Ezra and Nehemiah, because that's when they were writing it. Ezra, Nehemiah, Obadiah. Obadiah came right before Ezra and Nehemiah, or around that time. He was leaving, they were coming. You see this here. So again, you continued, and this is this guy here, by the way. This guy here, he is a so-called, I guess, Jew. Is this it? I don't have the cover. No, it's called The Lost Tribes of Myth. Okay, I shared this with you guys before. What else? Oh, one more thing.
Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land. In the time of Hoshea the king, whom Shalmaneser the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters. So came they into another land. But they took this counsel amongst themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen, and go forth into further country, where never mankind dwelt. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. and they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood, till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely 1.5 years. And the same region is called Asaroth. Asaroth, Newfound Land.
Okay, fam. So for the sake of time, I'm not going to get too much into it regarding these pictures, okay? But if you guys follow my channel, or our channel, I should say that, you should know that these have been, I have shown y'all the origins of them and the purpose behind them, okay? So for the sake of time, y'all can watch those classes. If you want to know when, just post it on this the class. And then, you know, obviously I'll follow up. Keep in mind, family, I'm going to focus on the class, so I may not be paying attention to chatter as much as before, okay? I appreciate you, brother, for watching, though, Malak. You know, mad love for you, bro, or anybody else that's watching. But from this point forward, I'm just going to be focusing on class, all right? So, all right, so we got an understanding of these guys, these fellows right here saying that the 10 tribes were actually black people, just straight, like, black, okay? That's their point. But that's not my argument. I'm not here to argue or debunk anybody. I'm just here to show you what has been revealed to me from the Spirit, from studying, from research. And you guys make up your mind. I'm just gonna be neutral. Okay. Today, I will definitely be neutral because honestly, so much is going on right now, family. Ain't nobody gonna really believe. There's only 144. The Most High is not dealing with everybody right now. And the 1/3, I even think, man, maybe few men, mostly women and children. The 2/3 are mostly men. Y'all are hard-headed, man. Y'all don't get it. You know, I feel sorry for you guys, honestly, because the Most High is dealing with men. And all these men are acting not like men. Oh, anyhow, so let's begin. Let's go first of all to 2nd Ezra. 2nd Ezra chapter. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me show you this instead. Let me get my point. Let me get my point across. So we're going to eventually look at Shem, Abraham, and Arphaxad, okay? This is from the Josephus, the works of Josephus, Antiquities of Josephus, okay? This is, I believe, number 4, and I think chapter 4, verse number 4, something like that. Regarding Shem, it says, Shem, the third son of Noah, had 5 sons who inhabited the land that began at Euphrates and reached to the Indian Ocean, okay? So now let's consider what we are talking about here. Let's be mindful and let's be thorough. All right, listen, fam. In this channel, we basically tell facts. Here, you see that right there? I'm gonna show you. Here, go right here. Facts tell, stories sell. We don't tell stories here.
We show facts. Okay? So now it's showing here a map. So I'm going to give you guys a map. Hold on a second here. So it says that it is from Euphrates and reached to the Indian Ocean. For Elam left behind him the Elamite, the ancestors of the Persians. Asher lived in city Nineveh and named his subjects Assyrians, who became the most fortunate nation and beyond others. Arphaxad named the Arphaxadites, who are now called Chaldeans. Remember that name. Aram had the Amorites, which the Greeks called Syrians. Now, Aram is, well, I would say this. Matter of fact, I'll show you. I'll show you guys what Aram means. Maybe I will. But Dam Aram basically just means region of Aramea, where the Aramaic language seems to be originated from. Okay, this is all findings that you guys can find on your own. I am not a linguistic man. I'm just going by what I found so far. All right. Now, here it goes here. It's from Euphrates, reached the Indian Ocean. Here's the Euphrates. And here's the Indian Ocean. Okay. Indian Ocean, look, Indian Sea. India Sea, something like that. No, it's, I don't know what it sounds like. It's DNA C. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna tell you that it looks like something like this. So here, the Indian Ocean. So Shem covered from this section here to this section here. Now, if you guys do not subscribe to this guy, then you don't subscribe to a lot of things. Neither will you subscribe to Manethos, which I know some of y'all want to use and claim that, oh, yes, the Hyksos and all that. Listen, Josephus debunked Manethos, family. I read the book. I got it. The Apion something. It's a really thin one. So you guys are going to throw this man out the door, but you're going to selectively say, oh, well, this word and this doesn't. You can't do that. We read what we read, and we read what we read. Now, part 2, or page 32, the Laudites, which are now called Lydians, or of the 4 sons of Aram. Uz founded Trachonitis, my apologies if I pronounce it wrong, in Damascus. This country lies between Palestine and Cilicia. Ul, or founded, Ul, founded Armenia and gathered the Bactrians, and Messa, the Messenians, is now called the Karax Aspazini. Salah was the son of Arphaxad, and his son was Eber. You're going to hear this later on. Eber, Kiber, Kibara, okay? Just throwing it out there. I'm going to do a class on that later on. Not now. You guys are going to see it at the end. Eber begat Joktan and Peleg, or Phaleg. He was called Phaleg because he was born at the dispersion of the nations to their several countries. For Phaleg among the Hebrews signifies division. Now Joktan, one of the sons of Eber, had these sons: Elmadad, Saleph, Arsamoth, Jerah or Daram, Azil, Dekla, Ibal, Ibamiel, Sabius, Ophir, which some of people, I don't want to say that. Keep them on shut. Eulat and Jobab. These inhabited from Kofin and Indian River, and in parts of Asia adjoining to it. And this shall suffice concerning the sons of Shem. So again, family, do not be disturbed, nor be confounded. It's talking about this territory here. Okay? That's Josephus saying it. So we're saying, we're trying to find out who Shem is, right? All right. So now let's look at 2nd Esdras. Watch this real quick. Sorry about the background noise, fam. 2nd Esdras, chapter 3. It talks about the dispersion, right? The dispersion. Watch this. 2nd Esdras, chapter 3, verse 10. Remember, follow me, fam. This is how I go about doing my classes originally. Before I was kind of, well, not before. I went through a period where I was kind of winging it. And it just really was out of order, fam. And I don't roll that way. I like to do things decently and in order, the best that I can, especially when when it's a work of the Lord. So I failed y'all, and I apologize. So I'm going back to my roots. 2nd Ezra 3:10. And it came to pass that every of them, as death was unto Adam, so was the flood to these. Nevertheless, one of them thou left it, namely Noah, with his household, of whom came all righteous men, Shem, Japheth, and Ham, meaning that they were keeping the laws. Watch this. And it happened that when they that dwelt upon the earth began to multiply after these 3 men, and had gotten them many children, they were a great people. They began again to be more ungodly than the first. Now, when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them, whose name was Abraham. Him thou lovest, and unto him only thou showest thy will, and madest an everlasting covenant with him, and promised him that thou wouldst never forsake his seed. And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac also gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau, and so Jacob became a great multitude. So we now know that after Shem, Japheth, and Ham, everybody bugged out here. Everybody. And yet, out of all the people, the Most High called Abraham. Why? You guys realize that, that is almost as us. Out of all the nations, he called us. We're a manifestation of Abraham. Abraham wasn't raised with the laws. His father was idolater, I'm sorry. We weren't raised with the laws. Our parents were idolaters. We are coming in with faith. So is Abraham. Abraham applied the works. So are we. It's a deep, deep understanding, but it's very basic, fam. Hey, by the way, y'all that think it's deep, just don't watch my channel, man. I mean, just don't. Because this is nothing. This is, for me, I'm sorry. This is the way I think. And it is what it is. Y'all accept me for who I am or you don't. You want to go judge me and say, this, whatever, man. I don't care. It don't matter to me. I wish I could, because the reason I'm saying this, fam, is because they got some criticism on this channel now, man. It's like, come on, man. I'm 125 people just watching this little measly channel. Y'all want to make videos about this channel? Oh, new brooms, maybe hear energy, but old brooms know the corners. Shut up. You're not. Look, listen, I'm going to tell y'all. You One West camps, you're not my elders, okay? You're not my elders. Get that straight. I have shown that there is several people that are not our people. So I don't know why. Don't concern yourselves with this channel. This channel is not for everybody. I'm not a piece of gold that's going to be loved by everybody else, fam. And I'm going to tell you right now, I wish I could really lean on somebody that knows, that's older than me, that has understanding, where I can bounce ideas from, fam. I really wish for that. I pray for the Most High to provide that for me. But until then, I'm going to continue in this faith and be in the Bible, researching as best as I can and keeping my foundation, which is the milk, the best that I can. And because of this, it's led me to this. Isaiah 51, verse 1. Hearken to me, ye that follow after righteousness, ye that seek the Lord. Look unto the rock whence ye are hewn, and to the hole of the pit whence ye are digged. Abraham was called from many, many people. Shem had many, many, many sons, fam. Says right here,
Look unto your father, the rock which he cut out of, and the hole of the pit where ye are digged. We are just like him. Look unto Abraham your father, and unto Sarah that bare you. Now, listen, why are some schools doing this? Daughters of Sarah and sons of Jacob. Did Sarah marry Jacob? Did Jacob have sex with Sarah? Why is this being said? There's a reason behind it, family. And at the end of this class, Lord willing, I remember, and we'll touch on it. And unto Sarah that bare you, for I called him alone, and blessed him, and increased him. For the Lord shall comfort Zion, he will comfort all her waste places. Why? Because of him, which is why it says, look unto Abraham. So when we look unto our father, that's why Job, matter of fact, Joshua 1:8, it says this real quick. It says, this is the book, this is milk, family. This is the book of the law. I'm sorry, this book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then shalt thou make thy ways prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. So we're supposed to be in this Bible day and night, right? And doing what? I didn't lose my point. Stick with me, family. Walk. Job 8:8. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to search of their fathers. Fathers. Who's one of our fathers? Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. That's our fathers. Okay? So now, let's find out about Abraham. About to get some water real quick. Give me a second. Let me see. Abraham. All right. Oh, sorry. Look for it, fam. As a matter of fact, I'll just do it here. Got a lot to show y'all. Abraham. Our facade. I'll show you guys that in a little bit. Oh, this is the book I'm talking about. The Apocrypha. The New Oxford Annotated Apocrypha. I would recommend to get it, family. It gets kind of detailed. You know what I'm saying? It gives you breakdowns on scriptures, and it actually goes into particulars, and it even provides you maybe precepts. You got to confirm the precepts, obviously. You know what I'm saying? But it's a very informative book. Anyhow, let's see. We're going to read that book too. Lots of material, fam. Here goes. Abraham. This is from the who's who in the Bible. It says here. Hebrew maybe. Father is exalted. Centuries BC, first patriarch. Abraham was the founder of the Hebrew nation. In Jewish, Christian, and Muslim tradition, he emerges as a father figure, dignified, firm in his faith, humane, respected by the local rulers wherever he went. He moved slowly and majestically across the Near Eastern world of the nearly 4,000. Let's see, I had it. Hold on. Where's the other missing part? No, that's Shem. That's it? Nah, no way. I had that. Oh, excuse me. I thought I had more on Abraham. Why did not I hit more on Abraham? I'm going to show you that. That's why. It says for 4,000 years ago, from Mesopotamia to Egypt. The setting for this story is the central hill country in the land of Canaan, promised to him and to his seed by God. Abram, as he was first called, came originally from Ur of the Chaldeans, Genesis 11:28. a Sumerian city in the Euphrates Valley, near the head of the Persian Gulf. Okay? So at the tip of it. With his father Terah, his wife Sarai, later Sarah, and his nephew Lot. He moved up the river till they came to rest in Haran, a trading center in northern Aram, as Syria was then called. The family settled in that area, and here Terah died. At Haram, the Lord appeared to Abram and told him to leave for the land that I will show you, where he would make of Abram a great nation. Genesis 12:2. You guys can read that. Let me see if I need to get to the point here. Second. Remember, this is the who's who in the Bible, okay, fam? Then destroy the wicked Sodom and Gomorrah. Yep. I think that's all we got to see there. All right. So now we got Abram. Now, Arphaxad. Now we're going to get Arphaxad. You got to look up these names. Arphaxad is the third son of Noah, the first birth recorded after the flood. He lived 438 years and was the ancestor of Hebrews and of many Arab tribes. In fact, all of the Semites except Assyrians, Elamites, Lydians, and Syrians. Genesis 10, 22, 23, 11, and 13. Also possibly a region of Assyria. Okay. Let's talk a second here real quick. All right, let's see. Here it goes. Is that it? Give me a second, fam. I got a kid that's crying over here. I don't know if you guys can hear the background.
How you used to justify the treason, no sense of ownership. That's what you said, then fenced off the earth and left nations dead. But where's your moral code? Where's your soul? You preached 10 commandments but broke every scroll.
And I mean, you just don't ever like teach them the Bible or nothing. If you have not gotten your house in order, then you're breaking the commandments of order. Because this is what we're supposed to do. Teach our children, our family. So the first 3 years, technically, like the tree, like Leviticus 19:23, the first 3 years, it's like the tree. It's rigorous work. It's examination. It's breaking them clods. It's change. It's like turning that dirt around, man. Getting rid of that clay, those philosophies, all that bright, bitter anger, all of that crap y'all deal with, man. Those first 3 years, you're supposed to deal with it within your own self. And if you have a family, within you and your family, because it was you that corrupted the family. So it's you that has to uncorrupt the family. You don't run away from them because they don't listen to you. Like some of these schools teach you. After a year and a half, you can leave her. And don't pay the bills. I'm sorry, but that's the fact. They don't do it. You want me to lie to you? Oh, that's right. I forgot. I almost forgot, fam. No wonder, man. I could hear my breathing. Anyhow, this is just a side point, okay? I want you guys to be mindful. All right. So now, let's go to something real quick here. Let me show you. Give you guys a little bit of milk, a little foundation, a little bit of a milk. All right. Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 17. All right. Write this down, fam. Color it. It says, "But as for the children of Israel, which dwelt in the city of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them." Okay. Remember this. Rehoboam reigned over us. All right. 2 Chronicles 30 chapter 30. Watch this real quick. This is milk, fam. This is milk. This is just showing us that some of us did stay behind. All right. Some of us stayed behind. 2 Chronicles chapter 30, verse 11. It says, "Nevertheless, divers of Asher and Manasseh and of Zebulun humbled themselves and came to Jerusalem after Ezra had freed us. And also in Judah, the hand of God was to give them one heart to do the commandments of the king and of the princes, and by the word of the Lord." Look, you could even see it in the New Testament too. Again, this is all milk, fam. All milk. Watch this real quick. Luke 2:36. "And there was one Anna, a prophetess, the daughter of Phanuel, of the tribe of Asher. She was of a great age and had lived with a husband 7 years from her virginity." So several of us did stay back. It wasn't only, you know what I mean, just like all of us. And I'm gonna tell you something, fam. Right now, we're being called not our people. We're not Israel. Everybody else is Israel except us. Everybody. And it's prophesied that it will happen. Hosea 1:10. Look, milk again, fam. Write them down. "Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in that place," right here, "where it was said to them, 'Ye are not my people. You guys are not Hebrews. Y'all are not Israelites.'" And you know something? Some of you guys really believe that. I know you say you don't, but you do. Because if you didn't believe it, you would come together as a nation. But you guys are so destroyed that you doubt yourself so much that you're not willing to take that freaking dive and say, "The hell with it, man. What do you got to lose, family? Y'all want to still be Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans? What did we get out of that? Y'all are Hebrews, fam. What the hell are you afraid of? For once in your life, freaking life, fam, grab that heritage that belongs to you. We're told, "Ye are not my people." But here, it shall be said unto them, to us, "Ye are the sons of the living God." It'll be said unto us here, and we're proving it now. The Bible was kept from us for more than 500 years. In case some of y'all don't know this, we haven't had the Bible for more than 500 years. If you guys don't believe me, look up the Lutheran Witness. I have documentation on it. For the sake of time, I don't want to read it, but I've proven it in many classes.
up only until 1831 through 1833 were actual Bibles being printed. And they were about almost $300 in that time, and there were 25 volumes, like the encyclopedia. I don't think any paisa like us could have afforded that if we're in slavery. So again, yet the number of the children of Israel, you Hispanics, you Native Indians, you brothers here from this continent, the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea. Are we not? Which cannot be measured nor numbered. We're the majority, fam. And it shall come to pass that in that place where it was said unto them, you're not my people. There it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God. That's milk, fam. It's happening now, whether people like it or not. I know that some of y'all lose hope. Don't. This is the best time to be in. Listen, family, if you guys ever grew up by the beach, I kind of thought about that. And I took a drive down, you know what I mean, trying to get my car going and everything. And you know, when you go out there and paddle, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a surfer or bodyboarder or nothing for that matter, right? But I swim, you know what I mean? I could swim. I could lap, man. I could do laps. Like, you know, 1,000 meters. Well, not now, but there was a time where I could do it about nonstop. I was a boxer, man. I had to learn how to do all these things. Anyhow, you know, man, what was my point? I lost my point, fam. Maybe it'll come back to me, man. I'm getting old. It must have not been important. Anyhow, let me read this. Maybe I'll remember. Romans 9:25. As he said in Hosea, like in Hosea 1:10, I will call them my people, which were not my people, and their beloved, which were not my beloved. And it shall come to pass. Remember this, fam. And it shall come to pass that in that place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God. Now watch this, family. Watch this. Isaiah also cried concerning Israel. I had a conversation with a brother, a little short. Though the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved. So if you guys don't believe, oh well. Romans 3:3, it says, for what if some did not believe? This is not milk, but classified like an orange label. If you got a marker, a gel, by the way, use the gel marker. Don't use the wet marker. Use the gel highlighter. And highlight this one in orange, fam. Remember, milk, put them in green. Things a little bit above milk, put them in orange. Things that have to do with examination, color them in blue. It's water. This is me how I use it. For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of God without effect? God forbid. Let God be true, but every man a liar. So I don't care. It don't matter to me if y'all don't believe anymore. There's a remnant. And that's who we're talking to. You see, most of y'all that don't want to come together and don't want to build, that's how it's supposed to be. You guys are the 2/3. You're basically not in the way. You're doing your part. You are the tares. You're not the wheat. Sorry to tell you this, but there's just too much now and so many reasons not to have zeal for the Lord. And you guys are all stale. You're 1 foot in and 1 foot out. You say you're a Hebrew, but you're afraid to be one. Those are facts. This is why in this channel, Bible Chronicles, facts tell, stories sell, fam. Give you milk more again, and then we're going to move. Matter of fact, you know what? Nah, let's just go with this real quick, and then I can move on to the class. Right? Check this out. Check this out. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 33. And I know this for a fact. And we got to find each other, family. Okay? because a lot of us have been bombarded with Christianity and one West indoctrination that completely has destroyed all of us. It's meant to be this way. Jeremiah 50:33. Thus say the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. Why do you think we can't come together? It is meant to be this way, unfortunately. You so-called Hispanics are really showing some of us that a lot of you guys are not our people, probably. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you, fam. Those are just facts, man. If it hurts you, oh well, man. If the shoe fits, I hope it fits you. If you get so mad that you want to unsubscribe, please hurry up. Sirach 125, the parables of knowledge are in the treasures of wisdom. The parables of knowledge are in the treasures of wisdom. And what is wisdom? Milk. Message. Once more. Psalms 111, verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding of all they that do his commandments. His praise and do it forever. That's wisdom, fam. Now I'm going to show you this real quick. This is from a book called Geography Rectified, a description of the world in all its kingdoms, providence, countries. You guys can continue to read that. Robert Morden, 1703. Publication date, 1693. Archive.org. I'm just trying to prove a point here real quick. It says here. It says, according to the page 5, according to the greater integrating parts thereof, the ancients divided the whole earth into 3 parts: Europe, Asia, and Africa, to which now is added a 4th part, America. Excuse me? Yeah, hold on. So as you can see, America wasn't discovered before. Okay? There again, divided into providence, countries, kingdoms, and in each of these are again subdivided in earldoms, baronies, and lordships. Okay? So again, the 4th part now. Some of y'all don't believe. You guys don't believe. Well, Revelation 5, watch what it says. It says, and when he had taken the book, the 4th beast and 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps. Oh, is that it? No, what am I doing? It's 6. Come on. Revelation 6:8. It says, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power, meaning this kingdom, this beast of nations. I don't even want to say it's so-called white man anymore, man, because it's a combination of nations. And the power was given unto them over the 4th part of the earth after 1492, to kill with the sword and with hunger and with death and with the beast of the earth. Watch this. To kill with the sword, war, pestilence, right? And then death here. All kinds of illnesses that we're not familiar with. And with the beast of the earth. Didn't we get COVID? Didn't they say COVID came from like some bat? I'm just saying, I don't know if it's true. Oh, by the way, hold up. Copyright disclaimer. This content does not belong to Bible Chronicles or claim this intellectual property. The content provided today has and always will belong to the content owner. Bible Chronicles does not have any affiliation with the owner of this property. As mentioned, Bible Chronicles did not intend to make use of any material for the purpose of harvesting gain. However, Title 17 of United States copyright law states material and use can only be done when it's for theological or general educational purposes.